Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4056. Today's date is May 15, 2026. It's been almost like a night at 10:11 p.m. Okay. Uh, let's just jump into the question. Let's go. All right. So, question is, will metadata remove? Okay. What's the metadata? All right. First of all, what exactly is this question, and why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to build an app called My Artifact. Okay. What exactly is this application? When people usually when you write the diary every single day, you cannot able to be write the diary the way that you wanted to. Why? Because your writing, your thought process is much more faster than your writing speed. Why does writing speed is slower? Is because of that key. It really required pen, pencil, paper, convenient, spelling mistake, and lot of things. So that's why the way that we think, we cannot print that on paper because it's much more slower and things and that and that. And that's why very less people are kind of like a not to write the diary. Oh yeah, but writing a diary is a kind of like a very essential. Like it's a self-reflection process. You actually connect with yourself. So instead of kind of like a writing a diary, what if we could record a diary? Oh yeah, like audio record. The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now, this is my artifact. Okay, like my audio diary. Okay, kind of like that. I'm recording this thing for past almost like a 11 year. Sorry, and I'm doing this thing every single day. Because of this thing, it adds so much amount of value inside of me. The person that I am became today and the person that I will become tomorrow, it is all because of artifact. The amount of value that I get from the artifact, I wanted to share this value to the people so that people should supposed to be get the value from this artifact. So how do I supposed to share this kind of like a things? By building an application. My application means artifact application is a kind of like a somewhat something like a YouTube platform. In the YouTube platform, you can upload your video, other people sees your video. Same thing here, you record your artifact, upload your artifact in my platform, and other people listen your platform, listen your artifact. There is only one thing difference is that ki your name is always been kept hidden. Like your real name would be like my real name is a Saurabh Authare, but my artifact handle name would be Prozac 1943. So this would be kind of like add a kind of like a layer of layer of privacy, so that other people will not gonna know your real name and things like that. So this is kind of like my application. Before I wanted to build this application, I wanted to know all the possible consequences. What kind of like a worst thing will gonna happen and things and that and that. So I went to ChatGPT, tell my idea, and kind of like I said that he suggests me all those possible consequences in question format. So ChatGPT kind of like suggests me hundreds of questions. This is one of this question. Now, regarding about this question, the question says that ki how like will metadata remove? Okay, what's the metadata? Okay, so let me tell you one thing. Whenever you kind of like a record your took a photo or take a video, let's say like you have your mobile phone. Everyone has their mobile phone. You take a photo. Okay, yeah. When you took a photo, go to the kind of like some gallery, click on that photo that you took, and click on the details of that photo. Okay, and when you see the detail, you realize that when you took the photo, there are a lot of data is actually kind of like written on the photo. Like not only just a name of the photo, like IMG 4400 something something kaitari. Okay, yeah. Then date, then resolution, then size, then location, might be location are also kind of like assembly are kind of like attached with it. So that's a kind of like a metadata. Okay, yeah. Every file that is generated, it kind of like generated with the metadata, and that's a default thing. Okay, yeah. Now why does kind of like a metadata generated? It's because of that key identity. Okay, in digital world, okay, like in digital, when every kind of like assembly file created, it really required that metadata. It really required that kind of like a name and things like that. Example is this thing: when you born, you have a name. Like a name is very much essential. That kind of like a some system will kind of like a give you a name, so that you will kind of like a kind of like a some remember in rest of the world. Okay, yeah. So in the digital world, when every file is actually created, audio, video, photo, anything, okay, yeah, it automatically generated that data, okay, that metadata, and that's a very much essential, so that system will identify which of this file and what do I supposed to do this thing. When the metadata is not created, then there is no photo at all. Like the data is actually there, but there is no kind of like a things like a there is it the file cannot be open, there is nothing really at all. Okay, it just kind of like a somebody just system doesn't know what is at least this file. Okay, yeah. Sometimes you also realize that now some file are kind of like exist in our computer, that computer does not really understand what is at least this file, the format and things and that. When you assign the kind of like assembly the format like a .mp4 or .mp3, then kind of like assembly file understand that ki, okay, this is the audio file, this is the video file and things and that. Okay, so that extension .exe, .mp4 is a kind of like identity, and with that identity it connects data, it connects the metadata, where it location, the time and date and things and that. That is called metadata, and every file created that metadata. Okay, now basically, now let me tell you one thing. When the user will kind of like a record the artifact, okay, obviously they will kind of like a record the artifact in their mobile phone, because I'm building an application. So basically a user is kind of like open my application, hit the record and started recording artifact. Okay, so basically when it records the artifact, basically what is that happened, that file, after he complete his recording, after he save his file, it create that metadata. Okay, it create metadata on two file. Like basically is this thing, let me tell you what exactly happened. As I mentioned, the file is actually created in my UI, not externally. Like basically is this thing, it's not really that you could kind of like a record your audio artifact separately and then you kind of like upload. No, it's not really that. Okay, yeah, you have to be record on this application. It's not really that kind of like externally you can upload. No, you cannot do that thing. Okay, yeah. You have to be use the kind of like app recorder. Okay, that's a very much essential. Why? Because of that key, there are so many privacy layer. When you record artifact through like basically externally, okay, yeah, there is a lot of metadata is actually collected. Okay, yeah, and that metadata is a kind of like a somebody create a evidence of like it compromise the privacy when it has metadata. Okay, yeah, like how does kind of like somebody compromise the privacy? Like that metadata will not gonna see, like no one will kind of like a click and kind of like see the details, right? Well, yeah, but let me tell you one thing is this thing that key it like basically is this thing now, when the people will gonna hack, they will kind of like get that data. Does people will gonna hack, like hacker can hack my artifact? Well, hacker can do anything at all. Okay, yeah, like basically if they wanted to hack, they could hack. Okay, even if I do lot of encryption process and things and that, hacker will kind of like find a way to kind of like hack the things, and that's their job. They have to do this thing. Okay, it is really essential that key, even if the hacker get the data, your identity will not gonna compromise. Okay, yeah, so I have to be remove that metadata attached with your file. And how do I supposed to do that? By doing a kind of like a user should supposed to be record a kind of like a inbuilt recorder, like a basically app, like basically the I kind of like build this application. In this application you have this recorder, you press that record button and you started recording. Okay, yeah, this in the UI. Okay, yeah, which will kind of like collect the metadata, but that metadata will not gonna share Like basically this thing, it collect the metadata. Okay, yeah, it's not really that ki my application will not gonna create the metadata, it will gonna create the metadata, but it will kind of like a something attached separately. Okay, yeah, like a metadata is different, audio file is actually different, and basically is this thing that key I don't know how it's supposed to be naming structure and how does metadata will gonna happen at the moment. Okay, yeah, but I will kind of like a, sorry, making sure that ki metadata will not gonna kind of like a something uploaded on the cloud. Okay, yeah, that will kind of like a trim out in the app, but I'm not really sure about how do I supposed to do this thing at the moment. Okay, yeah, because this kind of like a very a technical kind of like a simple question. Okay, I'm making sure that ki metadata will not gonna kind of like a something attach with the audio file. That is the one thing that I will gonna do it. Okay, yeah. So this is it. I will not gonna continue. Okay, yeah. It's very much warm in here. It's a very hot. Like during the night recording artifact, it's very brutal to record artifact during the night. So that's how I'm actually ending very quickly. All right. This is it. Thank you.